Ooh, we're live already. Nice. Alrighty, so the only other thing that we need to do is hit the record button, right? It feels like
Oh,
forever since we've done this.
share. Do we want to share the links to X and Instagram?
Now, we can skip that.
Oh, okay.
I don't think anybody really tuned in last year. And like I was saying, like we're gonna make clips out of this anyway and post it on Spotify. So whatever.
Sweet. So guess what, YouTube? You're special.
So yeah, if you're
If you're
watching
with us on
this,
YouTube,
or
good for you.
like if someone's watching this years from now and like a blast from the past, wondering like, I wonder what 2025 was like. This is what 2025 was like.
Just like 2020.
Nah,
At least this part.
yeah, still on Zoom. Cool. All right. Anything else you got to add to the
No,
agenda?
not to start out.
Alrighty. Cool, man.
Let's brightness, volume. And here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Warrior House Podcast, where Warrior Pride lives. I'm your host, Ryan Reingard, joined by my co-host, Mike Sangster. Thank you for joining us on episode 100 of the Warrior House Podcast and the start, Sangster, of season number 4.
Just think, what were we doing 100 episodes ago? Things were a lot different for, I think, for both of us, really.
Yeah. We were
Big summer
in,
also, but
yeah,
especially considering 100 episodes ago.
Yeah, we were in the dining room of my old house just off of 7 Mile in Livernois. And now we are on Zoom. We are also, I don't know what, 4 years older at this point, 3 years older. I don't know how that math
Yeah,
works, but
somewhere around
something
there.
like that. We're a little
November
older.
2022. So yeah,
Yeah. Wild
three.
changes here. Wild changes for Wayne State too, since especially since we've started talking about, Wayne State athletics on this year Warrior House podcast. Again, did I mention it's episode 100, Sangster? Is a fantastic milestone that we hit. Um, the summer went crazy, so we didn't quite get to the big, hype up big time episode that I was kind of hoping for in the back of my mind. But nonetheless, we're still here to talk about all the things. But let's start talking about what's happened since we've started because so much has happened. We have this opportunity this coming year with a new audience coming in. There's always new people coming into Wayne State athletics. There's new alumni. There's, new staff. All of these people coming into it. Let's talk what has happened since December, I believe, of 2020 when we started the Warrior House podcast.
Well, February 2020 is Twitter, so we can really go back that far where some interesting things happened. We're going to call it 2022-ish, right around when we started the podcast. Go back to 2021 though. Wayne State opens up the field house. Wayne State gets the Crews to play in said field house. Instant game changer, I think, for our basketball teams.
100%. That Motor City Cruise, part of the NBA G League, they are essentially like a direct funnel, if you will, or like the farm system for the NBA by and large. So, it's a pretty big time thing that we have here at Earl, on Wayne State University's campus.
Yeah, not only for the Pistons, but for Wayne State themselves to have a new, much improved home for our basketball teams and a big venue spot. Now, really going forward, if you had thought back in 2021, what kind of events would have been held in the field house? You know, so, okay, yeah, probably graduation, probably a concert. We haven't had a concert yet. Would you have thought wrestling matches or boxing matches?
Sure would not have. I
Wayne
would
State
have
Fieldhouse is
guessed some
quickly,
basketball.
very quickly becoming a martial arts, big martial arts venue in Detroit. Along though with the main use basketball, new men's basketball coach starting in the 2022 season in Brian Smothers, replacing both uh,
Dave
Dave Greer
Greer.
and EJ Harrelson, who
Yep.
I
Who
wish he would.
was the assistant coach
Yes,
under Dave Greer.
for many years, and guy I liked. I thought he was cool, but just it didn't work out for him here. Next big change. This is right when the podcast started.
Probably the biggest change.
Yes. Football coach, longtime coach, Paul Winters was relieved of his duties by, actually, no, it was the AD first. I apologize. First, Rob Fournier. I'm wearing my Rob era polo shirt. Uh, he was relieved of his duties by then President M. Roy Wilson. Uh, then Chief of Staff Erica Wallace was elevated to the interim role, and she made probably one of the biggest moves in within Wayne State athletics, uh, letting go of Paul Winters, longtime coach since '04. So national championship run. Unfortunately, things hadn't gone the way they wanted to the past several years, and had to make that big decision.
Yeah, no, spot on. I mean, well, one of the things that I was mentioning there is like the biggest thing was like the athletic director change. I mean, the changes that we've seen over the last few years, by and large, should be credited to Erica Wallace being the leader of that. Conversations can be had, and people can have, opinions about were these things in motion before her? Was she a part of it? Is it, whatever, all of that going, whatever that to be said, like she's been a huge part of this, and a number of other things we can talk about here that in just a second there, but like that was pretty big. And to take on like we've had a coach that's been here for I think 19 years. I think
It's
Paul
been,
Winters
yeah,
was around. I
19 years.
mean, he was the cornerstone of the athletic campus at that point. And I mean, like he was there as long as the athletic campus has been around, or so it
Yeah.
felt. That's a big change. So pretty impressive there. But we also had some fencing changes, Sangster. What do we got there?
Well, big hire there was bringing in Andy Tulliners out of Cleveland State. Uh, I'm really blanking on the last coach's name. He wasn't there that long. He was involved in Wayne State fencing previously, uh, but big news to bring in uh, a new fencing coach for both men's and women's teams, and finally the elevation of assistant head coach Yasha Moore to the full-time women's tennis head coaching role last season. It doesn't look like this team has missed a step at all. Still getting into big things for them. We'll be talking about that in our next segment about what happened directly in 2024 and 25. But aside from that, we've also had some major facilities changes alongside with the personnel. And that's just talking about athletics on field type folks. We've had big changes happening within the department as well, adding more assistant ADs, adding more support staff to fill in for different roles, really remaking this athletic department so different than it was back in 2022. And
Yeah,
facility
100%.
changes too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the facility changes are very big. I mean, we already talked about the basketball arena, the Wayne State Field House. I think we're going to be talking a little bit about volleyball here, but like just a very slight change, but like basically giving the volleyball team a dedicated facility, and really when they go in there on game day, making it feel like theirs. When they go in for practice, making it feel like their facility. Uh, you know, uh, Spoiler alert, we got some soccer stuff coming up here. That was out of nowhere. So like things like that going on, like the investment in a lot of our facilities, getting AC going within Mathi, which I know sounds hilarious, but like this is a building at this point that's, I don't know, pushing 65 years old, something like that. Like it's an older building. And little things like that just have to be kept up on. They hadn't been for a while. And then as things kind of fall to the wayside, it's not that, oh, not that many people go to athletics events. Well, it's D2 school, all that sort of stuff. Those kind of things just kind of fall out. We get the administration coming in now saying like, yeah, we're going to make sure we keep up on this. We want to have really good facilities. So I mean, that's pretty impressive. Slight improvements here and there to Tom Adams Field. Nothing. I don't think anything crazy, groundbreaking that like somebody that last was at Tom Adams Field 15 years ago. I don't know how much of a difference that they would necessarily see immediately, but nonetheless, there's still some changes that have been going on there that shows that like the people that are leading the athletics department right now really kind of have it in their mind like we're going to have some good facilities.
Yeah. And I think the last thing that I really want to touch on is building this unified athletics brand. I think having a unified font, having uh, correct colors for all the teams, uh, getting all the uniforms to match brand wise to the extent that you can. I don't think Nike makes like fencing uniforms, but at least getting them t-shirts, things like that. Um, and just having color, like I said, having colors that, funny enough, they don't actually match the university's colors. They're more of an athletics focused design. It's an athletics only design. You can't get certain Wayne State Athletics branded apparel in the bookstore. You can get it from athletics, and in my opinion, it looks better. So and it just transforms the look. They did a whole big thing inside Mathi with the new uh, what do you call it, fonts, replacing an upper mural that was there. Again, that new floor has the new fonts. I have to imagine that redoing Tom Adams Field and uh, oh, what do you call it, the field house, it's got to be in the works. Probably a few more years on the field house. That paint's still pretty new, but
Yeah.
a big thing just to make this Wayne State Athletics brand so cohesive now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what else has really gone around because, like I said, we've been doing this for almost 3 years at this point, the podcast that is, and but
Yeah,
like we're not new to Wayne States. I mean, a lot of the things that have happened in the time that we've been there. I mean, goodness, we could talk about Harwell Field, we could talk about the softball field, we could talk about
softball
uh,
field got lights. Tom Adams Field got fresh lights. They
all
reopened
of it.
the practice field now. Uh,
Yeah,
and even just the changes happening around Wayne State, the new Hillberry Theater. They just refinished the moat around DeRoy that had been dry for so long. Underway right now. Keast Commons is finally getting rebuilt after they knocked down DeRoy a while
yep.
ago.
Saw that one recently. I was like, good, because we remember back in the day there were volleyball courts in there. People would hang out there, and it was a fun little place behind, yeah, DeRoy Apartments. So, I mean, that's cool to see. It's just when you thought that like things were kind of dull around Wayne State just before we started up the podcast, you're like, oh man, we were doing really well, all this stuff was going, now we hit a lull, and then just things picked right back up. And the one thing I wish I could see is like some of the numbers around attendance, because we have all the numbers around what's the enrollment at Wayne State, what's the overall attendance. Like we kind of just have to use our eyes
Yeah.
in most cases to be like, are more and more people showing up to athletics events? I think in some cases, yes. I do think that basketball in particular has seen a bit of a boost from the Mathi days. Football, not unfortunately, not as much. I mean, that there's a number of things we'll be talking about here with the football team as far as why that may or may not have happened. But volleyball. I mean, my goodness, going to volleyball games, going to baseball games, going to softball games, like just within the last couple of years going there, like there's a very, very solid following there that as these teams hopefully continue to perform better, we're going to see that attendance going up. And like, it's one of those like athletics is going to do what they got to do to get the right staff and people in place, recruit as much as possible, get the scholarship offers that they can, and all of those things open up a new team coming in to be able to have an extra sport over on the female side of things. Like this, just these things that are going on right now just show me that like there's a real investment in the what would that be, like the west side of the lodge when it comes to Wayne State, which is the entire athletics campus.
And something I've noticed is just a greater integration of Wayne. Consider like Wayne State has their own social media. Just about every other post that like has something general to say about Wayne State, not like focusing on a specific department, but something general like, "Oh, welcome to Wayne State. It's gonna be fall now." There's usually a picture of some athletic contest going on or something from that side of the lodge that's saying, "Hey, we have athletics here. We're gonna promote it." Just like seeing that stuff in the student center, they'll do a whole big mural of like the football and basketball schedules in the main food court area now. We didn't have that when we were going there. Nobody ever thought to do that. Maybe a
No, we sure.
poster or two, but
No, we sure didn't. And yeah, just I know we could talk about this one like crazy, but like, yeah, what has happened is, the from the administrative perspective, they're doing a lot of really good things, but from the performance perspective, a lot of good things have happened also. I mean, a lot of things, we've stepped back in a couple of places. We'll talk about the teams here in a second half. But seeing like our baseball team and sometimes getting on to nationals, some of our tennis teams getting into nationals, getting some GLIAC titles here and there. A lot of those things have been happening. So I mean, when we talk about the performance, like I know it feels like anytime I talk to someone from the old days, and put that in quotes, of Wayne State athletics, it's like, oh yeah, they have a really good fencing team, don't they? Like, yeah, yeah, we still do. They're still very, very, very nationally recognized,
I
and
just saw a
we're in a
Reddit
lot of
post
those
about that
events.
today, actually.
Yeah, so you think about that, and it's like, yeah, they are still going. And like I mentioned, I mean, I'm very intrigued about the soccer, edition. So for those who have not heard, starting I believe in 2026, in the fall of 2026, if I'm not mistaken, the Wayne State women's soccer team will start. And this is the first new sport that we've added, correct me if I'm wrong, saying since women's golf. And I
Yep.
want to say that was back in 2013, maybe a little bit after even.
Yeah, that's I think 2014, but yeah, you're
Yeah.
right around that area, about a
And
decade. Yeah,
And this is a completely new sport. This is a spectator sport. Golf is as well, but like college golf, admittedly, I've never been to a Wayne State or a golf event. I would love to, or short of the fundraiser event that we went to recently, which we
right.
will not talk about a performance there. But soccer is the first net new sport we've had, and I'm not even going to try to guess how long. I know it's been a very long time, but beyond that, there's a completely different, especially when you think about like across the United States, the world, the market segment of people that are interested in soccer is different than a lot of other sports. There's people out there that really, really like soccer. And now there's a team out there that wears the same and goes to the same school that you do that plays that sport that you can go and see now. So like that's very intriguing to me that there was the very clearly an effort years ago to get a soccer specific field with the lines that's away from Tom Adams Field. It's the old practice field where the Wayne State marching band used to practice. But there was a very clear effort to say we want to have some sort of focus around soccer. I didn't guess that there was going to be a varsity team. I knew that we had club soccer, but seeing that come to fruition is just a fantastic thing. I'm very excited to see what comes of that and like what the following for that is going to end up being.
And especially you top that with the partnership between Wayne State and DCFC. That you've got a Wayne State logo right in the back of the DCFC kits right now. You've got big old Wayne State banners at the side of Keyworth. Hopefully, it extends all the way when they move to Alumni Phi Stadium in a few years when that gets built. And who knows, maybe Wayne State ends up playing a few matches there. It's I'm speaking of that, so I'm going to be very interested to see how uh, they fit fans inside that practice field. I can imagine that they would set up some bleachers maybe in the I don't know what you call them, the end zones of soccer, but that's if you look at Google Maps, that's kind of where the biggest space is. But I'm very excited for that. New coach looks awesome. He's experienced. He's been at I know at Lawrence Tech for a few years. So
Yeah.
and I always kind of thought that if you looked at what sports Wayne State sponsors, or not Wayne State, that the GLIAC sponsors, Wayne State, I believe, was the only team that didn't have a women's soccer team. So I think it was only a matter of time that they would add that. The only other sport I could see them adding, and it's not even a conference sport, would be women's bowling. It's still an NCAA sponsored sport. I know that bowling, like Detroit's supposed to be one of the bowling capitals of the nation, and obviously we've got the Garden Bowl right now, and I don't know if it's suitable for league play for NCAA, but that'd be a team I could see them adding to. But I'm really glad that they added women's soccer, get us on board with some of the rest of the GLIAC now.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really what's happened, Sangster. I feel like there's probably some stuff that we've missed. And I know we're going to think back and be like, oh, yeah, by the way, this also happened. But a lot has happened to sum it all up. So much has happened. A lot more is to come. And we have a lot to talk about here in the second half of this episode as far as what happened over the last year. We're going to go team specific. We're going to talk about each individual team, how they fared throughout the season. Maybe we can cover some specific athletes on each of those teams that really stood out to us. And yeah, so with that, Sangster, what do we got?
Well, let's start out with everybody's favorite. We got football. I only have one sentence in here. Not great, Bob. Not great. Uh, We'd say football ended the season with two wins, one less than they had the previous season, coming in the final two games of the season against Roosevelt and Northern Michigan. Coincidentally, who they'll be facing the last two games of this upcoming season, just away, not at home like they were last year. There were some interesting moments. Definitely have never seen a game suspended because of rain and then brought back on Sunday just so that we could attend after going to a wedding. So
Yeah.
that's pretty fun. Uh,
Yeah, funny enough, that game, I remember like Sunday rolled around and there was a funk in the air. Like everyone was kind of like, wow, this is
yeah,
kind of weird. And Wayne State was in that one for a while. And by the way, that was against Fair State. Who
yes,
ended up winning the whole thing,
yes.
the whole championship. But we were right in it with them. And I think the story of last year was we were close in a lot of games. Not all the games. We were out of it for a lot of the games, but we were in it. We saw flashes and it just didn't happen. And it's pretty clear that Coach Wheatley saw the same thing, and a lot of changes were made at the end of the season after, unfortunately, as I call it, the bottom feeder of the GLIAC, which is Roosevelt, Northern Michigan. At least it was in 2024, that football season. That's where our two wins came. So like, yeah, we separated ourselves from them, but that's not what we are. We're not just barely better than the worst two teams in our conference. So like that's not good enough. And some changes were made. Both the coordinators were gone. A number of coaches went as well. We had some promotions within, and we reached outside. Coach Wheatley reached out to a number of channels. I'm sure people that he's met in the past and said, "Hey, come on over. This is it. We got to make a run here." Um, that definitely seems like he thinks that he has the players in place to make some things happen, or he doesn't. I don't know. I have not sat down and asked him about it, but I haven't really
Sure that he
seen
does.
a ton of the big names, especially when you look at like the quarterback. Some A lot of our starters seems like a number of them are going to be returning for next season, which is fantastic to see. But we definitely need to see much better offense. I mean, my goodness, we got to see some numbers get put up. We got to get some yards put up. We got to have some extended drives put up. Defensively, I mean, for a lot of that, like it's hard to, in my mind, it was hard to see last season exactly how good the defense was or wasn't, because the offense couldn't stay out there seemingly. I mean, the defense was out on the, I'm sure we could pull up the numbers to figure out what was the balance time of possession. I'm sure it wasn't good. So your defense is out there getting worn down like crazy. And at the end of the season, we can look back and say they were close in a lot of it until they weren't. And so that doesn't really that to me was the story of last season. We were close, kind of.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to sum it up. I know we'll talk a lot about this 25-26 team coming up in the next episode next week. Uh, but yeah, you summed it up really well that it just didn't go our way. It could have gone better, and honestly, it could have gone worse. It could have been like Northern Michigan, and we could have not won a game. Yikes. Um,
Yeah.
we also discovered that Tiffin is a really cool town.
Yeah, Tiffin is fantastic. I would go back next time we play in Tiffin, I definitely want to go. I mean, I don't Slippery Rock and Tiffin both felt like similar cities to me where I mean, granted, you're kind of driving outside of Michigan for starters, so it immediately just feels different when you're seeing welcome to insert state name here. But yeah, Tiffin was sweet.
Yeah,
Stadium
absolutely.
was all right.
Yeah, but going around Tiffin was kind of the highlight of that trip.
Yeah.
Volleyball. They had a decent result. They did make the GLIAC tournament. Uh, but really, the big things that happened last season for them was facilities wise. They got a new volleyball specific floor for the math eye that lets them have a specific volleyball surface lines, but it can still be picked up and used for, and the regular basketball court surface can be used for whatever they still do in the math eye. So, uh, but I think where the biggest thing for this one is, we'll talk about again a little bit later, but there are big things in store for 2025-26. Spoiler alert, the GLIAC volleyball preseason poll is out and they have Wayne State third behind Grand Valley and Ferris. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
quite a bump. I have not seen that one yet.
yeah, Wayne State returns a lot of starters. I believe they got in a D1 transfer as well, and maybe
That's
another D2 transfer. So I think that their story is going to be written this year. But as far as last year's go, it was pretty much a developmental step, just getting into the GLIAC tournament. And the couple games that we attended, I think they were pretty close games against some of the higher finishing teams in the conference.
Yeah, you're exactly right. 2023 saw us at 10 and 19 overall, 5 and 13 in the conference, and last season saw us at 14 and 13 overall, 11 and 5 in the conference. So we held our own against our conference, and it definitely seems like based on what you just said, saying so the preseason coaches poll is expecting us to increase even a little bit more. And admittedly, I have not run down the roster yet. I do know that some of our top performers for last year were either underclassmen or juniors, but like they were not seniors. I think we only had I think maybe we had five seniors. It was actually a pretty decent amount, but a lot of our starters and the big names that we were talking about last season were not seniors. So if we are expecting them back, which it definitely sounds like we are, that's a huge that's a huge bonus for this team. And it definitely seems like 2025, 26 is going to be one of those where, you know, hopefully not to get too much into the hopes right now of like what we're hoping to see this season, but it definitely seems like this is going to be one of those that just making the GLIAC tournament is not it. I mean, we're going to make it a little ways through, and we should make it a little ways through. If we're expected to finish third, that says that's a semifinals appearance right there.
Yeah, and that's right up in that top of maybe the second tier or getting close to that top tier of teams in the GLIAC volleyball world. Let's talk about the last fall sport we've got, cross country, both men's and women's. Last year, the women as a team finished second in the GLIAC. They also finished fifth at the NCAA Midwest Regional. Out of that, Reagan Justice got to go to nationals, and she finished 37th out of 261 total runners.
It's a
And
very
also,
impressive finish right there.
oh yeah, I don't have the quick math skills to do that, but that's a very top percentile of
Yeah,
runners there.
right around 13th.
Yep. And on the men's side, they finished fifth in the GLIAC. They did make it to the NCAA Midwest Regionals, whereas a team they finished 16th out of the 28 teams that appeared. So kind of right in the middle. Unfortunately, no runners were selected from the men's squad to go run at nationals, so their season ended there. I think we could go into the winter sports now with basketball. Basketball, especially on the women's side, was probably the story of the winter. The women, uh, they unfortunately were not able to win the conference or win the conference tournament, but that doesn't matter when you're going dancing and you're going to uh, the NCAA tournament and they get a Midwest regional in your state that we got to go to. I don't think we've been to a NCAA tournament D2 tournament game before, where they get a huge win over number 17 Lewis, 77-57 at the Grand Valley Fieldhouse Arena. Unfortunately, their season came to an end in the what would you call it, the round of 32 uh,
Yep.
against Grand Valley, who was seeded number two that year. Uh, Grand Valley went on to win the entire freaking championship, so I guess you can give them a pass for that. But an outstanding season, I think, for the Wayne State women's basketball team, getting to a place they really hadn't been. I don't think they had won a tournament game in a decade. I know they went to the NCAA tournament in 2021, right after the field house was open, but big things from them last year. And really, if you look at their schedule, not their schedule, their roster, their big senior moment was they had a lot of seniors on that team but they also had a lot of underclassmen who performed well and look like they'll be back this upcoming year.
Yeah, thinking about last season, I mean, just kind of, you mentioned that our season ended by way of Grand Valley.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you're in the same conference as a team that wins the entire NCAA tournament, you've probably faced them at least two times. In our case, we faced them three times, and at no point were we even close against them. So it's one of those like you put us in a different position, or if the NCAA tournament for D2 doesn't operate the way that it does, and it operates more like D1, where you're not adding regionals basically into the bracket, maybe we don't end up near Grand Valley. Maybe we don't get bumped in the round of 32. Maybe we make it to the Elite Eight. Maybe, all of these things. But that's not the way that it is. The way that it is, you have the Midwest regional, you have the top eight teams, 1 through 8, or 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7. That's the way that it worked out. And for the second time last year, we had to go out to Grand Valley to play them there. And for the third time last year, they smoked us. So, yeah, I mean, if it's any sort of consolation, they were the undisputed best team in D2 women's basketball last year. And it does stink that we just, had to come across them again. But on the flip side, you've seen them twice. If anybody knows that team better than you do, they're in the same conference. So like, we had the best effort. We know the most about them. We still could not make it happen there. But regardless, I mean, that's an NCAA tournament appearance there. That's an NCAA tournament win, a big one, by the way, over number 17 at that time, number 17 ranked Lewis. We beat them by 20 points. So we
Yep.
were a good team. Grand Valley was just better.
Yep. That's sometimes how it shakes out. And again, I I think this team just had a really good senior class that, yeah, we're going to lose some production, as a certain coach says, going into the next season. But I think still the future is pretty bright for them. On the men's side, continuing that upwards trajectory, they made it into the GLIAC tournament again. Just looking at the eye test, the records were very similar between last season and this previous one. Basketball did end up finishing with a winning record, both in the yeah, they got a winning overall record and a winning conference record for the first time since that 2020-2021 season. Unfortunately, it wasn't really enough to propel them in the GLIAC tournament. They ended up getting bounced in the first round, but seeing some growth from them that, unfortunately, unlike the women's team, it might not be a linear path. It might be, considering who we brought in, but to expect that it's not going to be with this same group of guys, and that's just how college basketball works nowadays.
Yeah, it does. And especially like, of course the name Rob Lee Jr. is going to come up. And, we had days before Rob Lee Jr. and we've always known we're going to have days after Rob Lee Jr. You just don't know if it's going to be after his senior year or if it's going to be after, the 2024 to 25 season where he averages, I don't know, 14,000 points per game. When you think about it, like, yeah, we get bounced in the first round of the GLIAC tournament to Ferris State. We were leading after that first half. Ferris just happened to take off there in the second half. But before that, we've beaten Ferris. Like,
Yep.
we were 1-1 against them last season. So, it's not like we showed up with a really good effort. We really brought it to them, and Fair State happened to be hosting that one, so they were close in it for sure.
Yep.
And there's a lot of questions coming into next season. And we actually did have a chance to talk with Coach Brian Smothers again at the Wayne State golf outing that we went to. I don't know about at the end of July at TPC Michigan, by the way, or TPC Dearborn. I can never remember the name. Fantastic place. It got half rained out. So, but we got a chance to talk with him about it and just kind of ask him what his thoughts are on the upcoming season. Always great talking with him. And of course, the name Rob Lee Jr. comes up. What do we do going forward? Do you expect him to leave? A number of other players that have moved on from the team, a number of transfers from junior colleges that are coming in, and some Macomb Community College guys coming in. So, like, there's a pretty good chance or a pretty good opportunity going forward for a lot of these players. Because, like I just said, like your top scorer is not with you anymore. I think your number two scorer is not with you anymore. So, someone's got to pick it up, or you're not going to have a great season. So there's an opportunity there for a guy on this roster coming up to really, really make his name for himself.
But yeah, overall, like you said, last season we did see that upward trajectory continue, and I think, and we have seen it with the at least with the recruiting. As far as the biggest thing I've noticed over the past 5 years, just the height difference of guys that we're getting
Yeah.
now. These are some bigger guys that we're getting into this team. I'm not even sure there's a guy under 6 foot now. So, uh,
No. Yeah, and I do know one last note on the men's basketball team is we were very guard focused, and based on what I can see from the roster, that may not be the case going forward. It may be that we see a little bit more of a traditional basketball lineup where you have your point guard and your shooting guard, but you got your two big lanky forwards out at the side. I still don't really know what that five position holds because like Kareem Abarashed, I know he was in the transfer portal last I checked, but to me, even he is not a like dedicated five spot. He's a stretch four. He can drive a little bit, he can shoot a little bit. So like, the days of having your Ben Wallace just kind of stand at the rim bump and bruise people. Some teams do that. To my knowledge, I don't see that happening with Wayne State, but it may be that, the team shifts a little bit to, like you said, Sangster, to have some bigger guys out there and to have some, a 6'6" guy that can just shoot the ball. That lines you up with some D1 teams. That's what
yep.
they do. A lot of us D2 teams have, three guard lineups or we run a small forward. So we'll have to see what happens there. Very interesting. But yeah, this is going to be a very different looking team next year, I think, if nothing else. Just the way that the offense runs, who runs the offense, even who's calling plays, to be honest with you. Because I mean, one of the things that we know has changed is our assistant coaching staff. Raymond McAfee, I know, has gone out to Central Michigan to follow insert name here from Ferris State, whatever his name is, doesn't really matter. But
Little coaching
Ferris
change.
State. Yeah, so Ferris State loses their head coach. He goes on over to Central Michigan. Coach Raymond McAfee follows him up there. And then Will Vergolo, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Hopefully I didn't botch it, was promoted to, I believe he's just straight up the assistant coach now.
Assistant or
Or
associate, one of the two. And
yeah,
then
something like that.
yeah, and then they also brought in John Jokai, I believe out of De La Salle, to be
Yep.
another assistant head coach. So, and everything I've heard, he's an awesome guy. We got to meet him briefly at the Wayne State golf outing as well. He seems like a cool guy. So, uh,
Yeah,
I think still big things are going to be in store for men's basketball. It might just look a little different than it was this previous season.
for sure.
The previous season for the men's and women's swim and dive team, they continue being solid. So far, Coach Sean Peters, I believe, is now the longest tenured coach at Wayne State. He's been there since 1997. He is there before the almighty Jeff Weiss. He is there before he's gone through at least like a few different Wayne State presidential administrations, now a couple different athletic directors. He is one of the,
Y2K.
yeah, he has been around since Windows 98 at Wayne State, and now we are at Windows 11. All around great guy. We've spoken to him before too. Uh, his squad's finished. Men finished 12th in the nation in the NCAA tournament, NCAA championships. Women finished 19th. Not quite the results we were seeing about 10 years ago. I know women have won a national championship in 2011 or 2013, maybe both, and they've been close before. But still very solid results from this squad and a team that's always seems to be cohesive. Big name that we saw coming in last year, Khalil Ben Ajmia. Uh, I believe he came in. He was the one that came in from UIndy, right? I believe
He
so.
did come in from, no,
Yep.
I think he did.
Yes,
I do believe he did. You'll have to check that. It feels like it's been a while since we've talked about
it
the
has
the
been a
men's
while since
swimming
we
and
watched
dive
them.
team. But yeah, I mean, like even over on the women's side of things, I know that there were a number of names that we talked about, but it definitely seems like that team's going to have a little bit of turnover. We're expected to see some new names coming in, but yeah, I just no. Julio Acuña was from
Yep,
UND. Khalil
you're
Ben
right.
Ajmia was our freshman that came into Wayne State, and he was just the two of them really. I mean,
Yeah,
you have distance competitions and you have good diving competitions. I mean, they were podium finishing every time. If they weren't first, they were second. And that's big for the points when it comes to collegiate swimming and dive events or competitions, just to have those, you know, not guaranteed, but you feel comfortable that they're going to be able to get you some points. That really, really helps.
and I've got the new swim and dive roster up right now, and he is back for his junior year. So Khalil is so awesome stuff for that. And yeah, we'll just see what these teams can do. We know that their floor is somewhere ending up somewhere in the NCAA championships, and once you're there, anything can happen. So not to say that we've had some down years, but they haven't won a national championship in a while. So let's see what they can do this last year. But still, some very solid results. Just a strong, steady team, both the men's and the women's.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, a very, very fun atmosphere to be a part of. It's
Yep.
loud. It's really loud. I
Very
mean, the
loud.
water splashing is enough. The crowd cheering is enough. The whistling, which we asked Coach Sean Peters about, is so loud and it's ear piercing, but it's just part of the atmosphere there. And when you go into the Mathi natatorium in like January,
Oh yeah.
it's amazing. Like it feels like you're in a steam room. It's so nice. So highly recommend making it out to one of those events. A lot of fun. definitely expecting some good things again, just based on what we can see from the roster on the men's swimming and dive side. Again, women's swimming and dive, I definitely see some names are not on there, so that I don't believe they've released a full roster yet of transfers, incoming freshmen, and anything like that. So we'll have to see what happens there. But a lot of fun, a really good stuff from them, and both of them, like you said, Sink, so they're nationally, top 20 for both of them,
Yep.
and they're going to show up in my hopes for this upcoming year here as we kind of merge into that here after we're done talking about the individual teams. But
Yep.
good stuff there. Track and field, what do we got?
Well, final results from that. Emily in the indoor series, Emily Gordon finished 16th nationally in the 800-meter run. And then on the outdoor side, they finished third in the GLIAC. And then Reagan Justice finished 19th in the 10,000-meter run. And Kenesha Thomas finished 20th in the 400-meter hurdles. So two top 20 in the country runners on Wayne State's team. Unfortunately, well, she's fine. Uh, Reagan Justice graduates. Unfortunately for Wayne State, fortunately going on to bigger and better things for her. Uh, she graduates. Kenesha Thomas, I believe, returns for another season, but finishing the season with two top 20 runners and Reagan Justice finishing in the top percentile in cross country. Outstanding stuff for the Wayne State running teams.
Yeah, and if you want to see a large team, like just a number of athletes, you can roll on over to the Wayne State women's track and field team. There's a lot of athletes on that roster, and there's a lot of names that I definitely recognize. So we have some returners there. So all of that to be said, like we should expect some similarly good things from the team. Again, you lose arguably your top runner. Yeah, another one of those
Top
like
distance runner, yeah.
yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So who steps in to be your number one? I don't know if they have like the ace in track and field or cross country or anything like that. Like who is that the coaches look to and say like, hey, go as fast as you can. Get first place, get third place, get whatever. I don't know who that's going to necessarily be, but again, there's a number of athletes that return for the track and field team, and that is always a welcoming sign. Get them to come back. A lot of graduate students I see in there, so one last hurrah, go make it happen. Um, they're a great team. We haven't had a chance to talk to Coach Grant Lofdahl yet. I know, and I know when I did when I did an interview because I know you couldn't make it to that one. When I did an interview with Reagan
Reagan.
Justice, I was talking with her a little bit, and she just mentioned Coach Lofdahl's name quite a bit, and that she just spoke amazing words about him, just being a fantastic coach. Helping her along with her teammates, like grow as athletes, as individuals, and all that, which is what you want out of a coach, no doubt. But he's definitely one I think that if we have the opportunity, he's very busy all year round, turns out, because there's cross country and track field season. But it definitely seems like he would be a good one to talk to.
Oh, for sure. We definitely need to get him on the podcast. Uh, we did miss one winter sport, fencing. Women finished 17th out of 33 teams nationally. The men finished 14th out of 26 teams nationally. But the big news on the men's side is that Mahmoud El Sayed finished first team All American in the NCAA. But he also he won a gold medal in the Junior Men's Epi World Championship this year held in China. He's a world champion at Wayne State, and he's back again for another round here.
Yeah, that is wild because there's stories similar to his. I think he's probably the most successful story so far. I think that's come through here. But Ahmed Al Sayed was around for a while.
Yep.
There's a number of other names that have come through the fencing program that have done amazing things worldwide. A lot of we have very very much a big draw from all around the world for fencers to come to Wayne State, which is fantastic. I mean, it really is a big reason why these two teams are always so, we're in it when it comes to postseason. We have some of the best fencers. We have those guys that uh, go out and make it happen and just get those good position or finishes all throughout, nationals, regionals, what have you. But that's really cool to see. I mean, that's one of those that, like, how many Wayne State students, even people that follow Wayne State athletics, even what they would say like kind of closely. How many know that Mahmoud went out there and did that? Like that's just that story can be told, and like that's pretty freaking cool.
100% agree. Going to the diamond sports now, back to spring. Both had a final result that is incredibly similar, but they happened in two very different ways, and I think they mean two different things for both teams. I'm going to start with softball. They're trending upwards from the past couple of years. They had, I don't think they finished with a winning record, but they got darn close to it, much closer than they had previously, or maybe they did. No, I stand corrected. They finished with a winning record. They did not. It's going to bother me. I'm just going to look it up before I keep yapping.
Baseball was just under.
Yes. So good news, the 2026 softball schedule is up. Just saying. Wayne State softball, yes, they finished just close, much closer to a 500 record than they had previously. Finished 24 and 32 overall, 12 and 16 in the conference. Very close to 500. They do make the GLIAC tournament, and they win a GLIAC tournament game, something they had not done in quite a few years. Definitely trending upwards in the Nicole Tynes era, uh, replacing probably one of the greatest coaches in Wayne State history, Gary Bryce. There for a long time, going to numerous NCAA tournaments, I believe going to a couple College World Series. Big shoes to fill, but trending upwards there. Baseball, kind of a down year. They finished just below 500 overall. They finished 500 in the conference thanks to some GLIAC tournament games. Not their standard. Things have gone incredibly well for baseball the past decade or so. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone well for them this past year. They did make an incredibly interesting GLIAC tournament, though, uh, defeating Grand Valley in, I think it was the game that I couldn't attend, that they ended up beating them in the second, what do you call it, round robin elimination. So,
Yeah.
a really great way to make it interesting at the end. Just wasn't the year they were looking for, I think.
Yeah, and it was one of those, I believe 2024 was one of those years that like that was supposed to be the year. Meaning, a lot of guys stuck around into their senior year, maybe came back as graduate students. I don't remember exactly, but like we had quite a bit of a drop off in who was on the roster in that
Yep,
2025 year. And, a Wayne State baseball team date back as far as you want, a 12 and 12 conference record is not to be expected. A 27 and 28 overall record, I don't think is wild just because of how heavy their schedule is early on in non-conference. So to have that, kind of rough looking record early on, we talked about it last year, like to be expected, we accept it on the agreement that like when we get to conference play, like this is when we roll through conference. And they were doing well for some stretches here and there. And when it came down to it, they're like, yeah, they made a run in the GLIAC tournament, even as a team that was not expected to do what they did. They got down to it and they played in that, you lose and you're out. We go out, we beat Saginaw Valley, we go out and we beat Grand Valley. And for whatever reason, Davenport beats us in extra innings. So, I mean, they were very close to being able to make it well into the postseason,
yep,
into, nationals. So it was close. It was nice that when it got down to it, this team was like, all right, let's go. We know what we got to do. We're going to make it happen. And they by all intents and purposes, they made it happen, in my opinion, based on what had happened up to that point last season.
for sure. And last but not least, our new favorite sport that we have picked up, not nearly as well as the actual folks on our team have, golf. The men won a GLIAC championship for the first time in forever, getting longtime coach, Wayne State Hall of Famer, Mike Horn, a GLIAC championship. They ended up finishing 15th out of 20th in the super region. I think it was just a tough day out there for the golfers, and unfortunately did not move on in the uh, NCAA championship. I don't think any GLIAC teams did either. If I remember right, these were all the teams that made it out of like the Central and Midwest Super Region were mostly all Central teams. And
Yep.
you kind of understand you can golf outside on a real course as much as you want when
Yep.
it doesn't snow and when it's not 20 degrees. But
Yeah.
a great season for these guys winning that GLIAC championship. still making good stuff happen in the super region. I believe that they had shot the best round of golf in the third round. I think it was just a couple tough early going for them. That did not help them in the super regional.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's exactly what it was. Looking over at the women's golf team, definitely a little bit of a tougher road throughout the season. One of our top golfers, I believe our top golfer from the previous season transfer went on over to Akron, but we got a incoming freshman who ended up doing absolutely fantastic for the team. So, but the women's golf team ends up making the semifinals in the GLIAC. So that's good enough to make it into regionals. And they ended up finishing sixth in regionals. Not good enough for them to make it into nationals. But the
They
way that
were
that
just
works,
three strokes shy though, and that they were incredibly close this year or
yeah,
last
they
year.
were they were extremely close. But a Tingwu Kwa, who was our incoming freshman, actually from Taiwan. So again, like this is another one of those teams, and by and large, Wayne State across the board mostly with the exception of football, just because like it's yeah, American football is not the worldwide sport that a lot of these other ones are, but the reach that this university has to be able to pull in, people that want to play at a really high level in a very major city for Wayne State University is fantastic. And Ting Lu Kwa is a great example of that. She's a fantastic golfer. Sangster and I wouldn't know anything about that. We chip like horribly. But she ends up going to nationals as an individual, and out of 94 golfers, she ends up finishing 41st. So, in the top half of the field, and even better, she's back for her sophomore year. So she's got some unfinished business. I'm sure she wants to be much higher than, 41 out of 94 this coming year, regardless of, what the team does here. We have a couple returning names that we talked about last year, but again, I don't think this team has really posted their entire upcoming roster yet. So we don't exactly know what that team is going to look like, but we do know that a couple familiar names are back for this team. And hopefully, they're playing at their best and putting in the work.
Exactly, and that wraps up the entire sports scene for the 2024-2025 Wayne State Warriors. And the history is going to be on the site, but it's a new school year. We got big things to show for 2025-2026. What do
We
you think?
definitely do. What's that?
What do you think we're looking for?
All right, so my biggest hopes. Here's how I'm going to frame it up. Generally here on the Warrior House podcast, we kind of break things up a little bit. You got fall, you got winter, and you got spring sports. I want to break it into each season because I don't want to necessarily talk too much about like, oh, I want baseball and softball and cross country and all these teams like to do. I'll get there. I want to start out with fall, and I can't talk about fall without football. Regardless of what you think, it's the highest attended sport that Wayne State has. It's the highest attended sport, college sport across the country. Like I would be willing to bet that just about every college, every major college, the team that attracts the most amount of fans on a game day is football. There are some exceptions, I'm sure. Nebraska volleyball blew that out of the water by filling out that football stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, with volleyball fans, which is fantastic. But so football, um, last year was not fine. The year before was whatever. We accepted it. It was Wheatley's first year, big time change. A number of guys that were recruited that played for Coach Winters, whatever. Those are out of the year, or those are out of the yeah. We're not going to talk about that. But we're into th year number three now, and you got your guys. You targeted these recruits. You targeted you had coaches before, didn't necessarily get what you wanted out of them, or or maybe you did. And it was like that was as far as you're going to go. Regardless, made some moves. Now you got some new coordinators in here. This team, my hope is that we can get into that second tier of GLIAC competition. And what I mean by that is I have very, very little reason to believe that Ferris State and Grand Valley are going to take much of a step back. They may not win the national championship next year, but they're going to be up there in the GLIAC. That second tier, we talk about Michigan Tech. you got Saginaw Valley, and you have Davenport. I think the three of them really kind of sum up, at least last year, summed up that second tier. We were not in that. And I know that we weren't in that because we didn't beat any of those teams. And I know we didn't beat any of those teams because those teams scored more points than we did. So they're in a different league. But then there's Roosevelt and Northern. I know that we're not in the same tier as them because we beat both of them, and I know that we beat both of them because we scored more points than them. So like we were in that weird little area in between on our own that like maybe we could compete a little bit with that second tier. We were kind of really showing out against those other two teams. So, but this coming year, we really need to be in that second tier for me, Sangster, at least for fall, if we just want to talk about that season.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. I don't think there's no matter what the final record is, and you could go, 6-5, 5-6, somewhere in that range, and probably still end up within that second tier. But where we can't be, so can't get worse than we are, because that's definitely not good. You can't stay the same. And that whether that means winning maybe at least 4 games. And I'm not saying that 4 games is great by any stretch of the imagination, but if it puts you somewhere within that Michigan Tech, Davenport, uh, right now, Saginaw Valley, according to the coaches poll, is supposed to be is much closer to like the Ferrises and the Grand Valleys of the world. I have not done a deep dive into Saginaw Valley to know what they are and what warrants them being that high, kind of taking over Davenport's spot in the poll. But Wayne State has to get in somewhere, find a way to keep it competitive against Grand Valley Ferris, get into that second tier, and I'll go hand in hand with that, and just look competitive in all your games, and especially the home games. Really easy to say it's my dream that we win all our games, but at the very least, your home games are your opportunities to show out for the folks that support you. You've got all the advantages at home. Show up for them, and I'm sure they'll show. And I'm not saying that they haven't before, but whatever needs to be said to push that one final lever to do your absolute best at home, I think it is what needs to be done. And it's a nice home schedule right now. We can go over it real quick. That we start out at Tiffin, with Tiffin at home. Got a couple week break. We got Quincy coming in from Missouri, homecoming against Michigan Tech, home against Davenport, Grand Valley to end the season on Senior Day. So yeah, it's a tough slate, especially Grand Valley, but you've got big opportunities here to win against some teams, and show Wayne State fans that not everyone is as nuts as we are to go to all these away games. That you know that we can win some stuff. And in addition, also I think my dream, not it's not necessarily on the field, and this is a dream that I just found out came true, is that we always wanted to have Wayne State beer, and it's happening. Roar Brewing out in Selden, right next to the barcade. They have a Rep the 313 Oktoberfest. I don't know if it's actually out right now, but they have a picture of it. So I'm going to be very excited to see that. That's kind of my secondary off the field dream, but just saw that pop up today, and that's already one dream that has come true for me, I think.
And the athletics season has not even had its first event yet. I
Exactly.
want to talk really quick about something. I'm going to roll into the winter season here. One of the things
Got
that
it.
you mentioned is your home games are so big, and for a lot of reasons. I mean, you're in front of your own fans. The most amount of fans are going to show up to a home game. We all know that. More fans are going to show up if your team is performing very well. Unfortunately or fortunately, whatever side of the fence you're on, that's kind of generally a fact. I don't know a lot of times that a team's performing very bad and more people show up. It doesn't generally happen that way. But all that to be said, like I watched a video recently about like the inner workings of the big house, if you will. So like basically it was like how they have to operate from a food and drink perspective in order to you know, basically how they run concessions, how they get the most amount of people in there and all of that. And that's very important because like at the end of the day, money. Hello, like people are showing up. Like you have concessions available, you have merch available, you have season tickets available. You want people to show up. You want all of that to happen. The more people that you can get in, the better the product on the field ultimately is going to impact athletics, either through just people supporting or people actually spending money. So, like, I know that at the end of the day, that sounds like the most capitalist way that I could say all of that, but like by and large, like it's very important to have people showing up and to have people invested in this and have people that want to come hang out and watch this team. That needs to continue happening. So yeah, I mean, I completely agree. You got to really put your best product out on the field, especially at home games. That's really where people need to see that, yeah, the team I'm supporting actually looks cool. They're a lot of fun. The atmosphere is very good. That's very important. So
You're
little
100%
little
correct.
thing there.
Yep.
So winter. All right, what's my hope for the winter, Sangster? Well, it's gonna revolve a lot around basketball. Basketball is my uh arguably my favorite sport to attend. I do like football. Unfortunately, these last couple of years, by the end of football season, really by like the late middle part of football season, I've kind of been done with it. And that's really where I'm like, all right, it's time to go inside and watch the basketball. I love basketball. I love analyzing it, love talking the game. My hope for the winter sports is that both of our basketball teams get a first round GLIAC home game. And I think that means that leading up to that, it's going to be a fun season. It's going to be a lot of fun in conference play. It's going to be a lot of fun in non-conference play. It's going to give us the opportunity to see our teams at home in the GLIAC tournament. Even if they're a 3 or 4 seed, we're still going to get a chance to see them. And you win that game. Both of those teams are now in the semifinals, really not that far from both teams being able to capture a GLIAC title. If we can just get a home game, I will accept a 4 seed. I will accept whatever it needs to be. That is my hope, is that both teams can at least get a home a conference tournament game.
I like that dream. I like that hope a lot, and I would definitely want to see it. One that I would like to see, I want to see either men's or women's swim and dive. I'd like to see them get a single digit finish uh, in the NCAA championships, even if it means finishing ninth. Uh, just to say that, hey, we could kind of get past this. Not going to say it's a slump. You made it to national championships, but to say, hey, we made it into the top 10 nationally as a team. I'd really like to see a finish like that coming out of, again, a very storied Wayne State swim and dive program.
Yeah, I think it's definitely time for them to get back to it. Again, they're a lot of fun to follow. They've been very, very good all this time. I honestly, like, you could probably pull the numbers up to figure out the last time that either one of our teams were top 10. I think that's a really good one, though.
What's funny is I just totally read, I saw that on your wild card. I didn't read down that far on the show sheet
Just
yet. So I just
copy
totally,
my homework, but change it up a little bit.
I'm sorry for stealing your dream, but I like that we are on the same page.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think that's a really good one. I think it's one of those teams that can easily get there. And I'll kind of talk about them here in a second, since, like I said, that's my wild card, and I'll save that so you can also have yours. Spring season. Okay, so we were just talking about both our baseball and softball teams, and how they've kind of taken a step. Last season the baseball team took a step back. Maybe it was expected. Softball team actually took a step forward from what they'd had previously after Gary Bryce just a couple of seasons ago retired, slowly building back up to where they once were. So I'm gonna pull both of those diamond teams in. By the way, if I haven't said it before, which I know I have said it before, and if you haven't heard it before, I'm gonna say it again, and I hope you hear it this time. Spring season on the athletics campus is incredibly underrated. It is so much fun. Just getting around to see both tennis and baseball and softball, it's a lot of fun. Highly recommend if you're able to make it out sometime in the spring season. We'll be talking about it throughout the season, but it's a lot of fun. So my hope for both the Diamonds teams is that overall record, they're both over 500, and pair that with the baseball team making it back into NCAA regionals.
Yeah, the absolutely. I think baseball, I'm sure that they likewise want to get back to their winning ways and just upholding the standard that's been here at Wayne State for at least a couple decades now. I'm going to pivot over to the men's and women's tennis squads. I think just on the women's side, doing what you can to say, hey, we're going to keep this standard. We're going to advance still in the NCAA tournament. At least making it there uh, is a big deal, especially considering the competition that you face once you get down to championships. That it's these teams that they play tennis 24/7. They get to play it outside 24/7. Wayne State don't necessarily get to do that. On the men's side, I likewise would like to see them. I think just getting back into the uh, what do you call it? The NCAA regionals. Just you never want to slip down too far, and I don't think it's necessarily such a big thing in tennis as it is in like basketball or football, where if a team starts sliding, suddenly folks aren't going to want to start coming to your school. I don't think it's like that at all. I think it's just a matter of year by year who you're getting in, how things shake out. Sometimes you have injuries, sometimes you have guys just haven't played that much. So just being able to say, hey, we didn't have as great of a year as we like to have. We're going to fix that. We're uh, going to get back into the NCAA regionals just to say that that is the standard. That is the floor for Wayne State tennis.
Yeah, and there's definitely I don't know exactly how much we've talked into the individual players on both the tennis teams. We know the captain of the men's tennis team is graduated. He's also fine, much like Reagan
Yep.
Justice. Nothing happened. He graduated. He got his degree, hopefully. I don't actually know there, but we know that he's not going to be with the team. He's out of eligibility. So that's another situation where you have an opportunity that somebody else can step up and say, like, this is now, this is my team. I feel the responsibility of making sure that everybody's hyped up and ready to go, much like Cedric Dredd was able to do. And over on the women's side of thing, I think we have a number of athletes returning that we're familiar with. Actually, to my knowledge, I don't know. We do lose. Oh, help me out, Sangster. Our big name from last year. Anna Racine. She was a graduate student last year, so uh, basically, in my knowledge, like the ace of the women's tennis team. But yeah, I mean, these are definitely those teams that, like, we've seen it before. We'll see it again. There's a revolving door that happens, and it's just kind of the story with college athletics. And just because, as we were talking about with basketball, just because Rob Lee Jr. goes on to D1, and I'm going to be putting Lafayette College, I think is actually where he ended up going. Like, yeah, if they make it in the NCAA tournament, I'm giving them the little Rob Lee benefit, and I'm moving them out of the round of 32. But it happens to where you lose players, and somebody else, steps into that role. One of your underclassmen gets that opportunity.
Real quick, just so you don't make the incorrect bet, Lamar.
Lamar, that's right, not
Lafayette
Lafayette.
is where John Brantley came from.
That's right. Yep, you're right. So.
Just don't want you to make
Um,
the incorrect bets.
Nope, that is very fair. So appreciate that. So, um, you kind of stole my thunder here a little bit, Sangster. I wanted to throw a wild card in there just in case you had some, facility things, some administrative things, some whatever. Maybe it was the beer thing, like wild card. I want there to be a Wayne State beer. There is. My wild card, yeah. Let's talk about the swimming team. I want top 10 national finish from one of the teams. The women's team was. I believe it was the women's team. We literally just talked about this. The men's team was number 12. So they were really close. We just talked about it. We return one of our top swimmers. We get some other guys coming in. There's a chance that they could be the one, but getting a top 10 national finish, I think, would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Like I alluded to, I 100% agree with that dream. The one that I've got for you is I would like Wayne State to finish somewhere in the top 15 of the NACDA Directors Cup.
Mm.
This is a big one, and it could happen. It's kind of a lofty goal right now. So I have a lovely chart of Wayne State's performance in the Directors Cup going back to about 2003 or so. Uh, Wayne State's best finish that I have found is number 11. They got that in 2008, 2009, and then they were 14 in 2013, 2014. Kind of after that, there was a big slump, especially towards like my and your senior year, getting down into like the 80s and 84. That trended upwards going into and even going past COVID into 2023, 2022, 2023. Kind of had a dip in 2023, 24. I'm trying to find the last result I didn't put in my chart yet. I know it's right around the same, uh, kind of in the 30s, 40s, I want to say it is. So kind of down, not where it's been in the past. But if Wayne State can shoot right back up, it, a top 15 result would be nice. I would say if that dream can't come true, at least finish second amongst the current GLIAC teams. And that's kind of right around where they've been the past few years. It usually goes uh, as a whole. Grand Valley wins the whole dang thing just about every single year. If they don't, usually Ashland does for whatever reason. Uh, but Wayne State,
Ashland.
Ashland.
Oh, you're talking nationally.
Yeah, yeah, nationally, yes.
I thought you were saying GLIAC wise. I'm like, Sangster, Ashland's been out for a little while. You're referring to
Yeah,
Ferris? You're not referring to Ferris.
no. But considering all sports that these teams compete in, Wayne State is usually good for finishing somewhere second in these between the schools. If they're not second, they're usually like the third. And usually it's maybe Ferris or Saginaw Valley that will leapfrog them some years. Some years, again, Wayne State will be on top. So Wayne State's right around in that sphere. So as long as they can stay in that second, but getting into the top 15, I think would be an awesome achievement to have for everyone in the department, really. And that just shows that the rest of our dreams have come true this season.
Yep, 100%. I think that's really good. Well, I think it's a very good wild card one as well. So one of those, like you said, we already had one of our dreams come true. I guess the other dream would be can we have some of the 313 Oktoberfest at football games? That would be fantastic. To be determined if that ends up actually happening or not. But
Find out next week.
we will find out next week, and we will be back next week, by the way, Sangster. So, this episode will be coming out, with this week, the final full week of August. And the next week, next time we talk, we're talking previewing all of the events that are coming up to start the 2025 to 26 academic season. So we'll call that part two. But all that to be said, Sangster, this has been episode number 100 of the Warrior House podcast.
And remember, it's always a great day to be a Wayne State Warrior.
Nice. Um,
Bye bye. Baby
no,
time.
by YouTube. Yeah. I now